Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.
Welcome to Minutes with the Mayor, brought to you by Mercantile Bank. I'm Bob Gough, and I'm with Jason Parrott, the Director of Planning for the City of Quincy. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
You had a relatively brief City Council meeting Monday night compared to usual standards, but there were a couple of interesting topics. I think the solar farm topic is something that still people are interested in, and it causes some confusion sometimes, but this one everybody kind of seemed to be on the same page with.
Yeah, this is one. What we have done with our commercial solar ordinance is try to aim these towards industrial. Obviously, when you get into the mile-and-a-half area, you have a lot of rural, there is some residential, but you also have that industrial feel. And these are projects that we feel fit right into the industrial. The site that was looked at there, it's on 24th Street, just a little bit north of Haymakers. It's tucked in behind a few houses, but it's an industrial area. It's zoned industrial. And because of that, that is one of the targeted locations. We want those industrial sites for it. One of the benefits of this, I believe, is we didn't hear from any neighbors because the company said that they had really made an effort to talk to the neighbors ahead of time. Where in other projects, we've had a lot of people showing up and expressing concerns. I think when they laid out what was going on, that seemed to be something, because we did not receive a single phone call or anything about it.
Yeah, but the city also has a little more restriction. The city can regulate these, whereas the county, since the county doesn't have zoning, they are at the mercy of the state.
Yes.
And the county basically stuck with wherever somebody wants to put one. If somebody's going to sell them the land, it goes there.
Absolutely.
You have guidelines.
Because of our zoning classification, we do not have a solar farm as a permitted right in any zoning classification. So because of that, we have to do either a special use permit or a special permit for planned development. So we have that Plan Commission oversight. We have that City Council oversight that is not available for the county. That is why you have seen one project was not allowed. We do have another one that's going to be coming up on the next Plan Commission meeting. We just received the application the other day. It is going to be in the area of 36th and Payson. If you're looking at the map, it's a giant piece of property, about 150 acres. It's going to be in the southeast corner of that. We'll be referring that to the City Council to refer to the Plan Commission at Monday night's meeting. That is one that has a little more residential, again, but they have tucked theirs into an area that's farther away. It's more directly across from landmarks than the properties up in Prairie Ridge or along 36th Street. That's going to be another one, though, that may get some discussion. It is also not industrial, so that is going to be a little bit of a higher hurdle for it to climb as well.
And again, that's also within the mile and a half.
That is in the mile and a half, and then that's why it goes to us. Anytime we have that mile and a half jurisdiction, we have to oversee it. They have to go through our permitting process. Move about a half a mile outside of there, and they can pretty much, from what my opinion, from what I've been told, they can pretty much do what they want.
Yeah, because there's basically, I don't know how it is, how the crow flies or whatever, but I mean, just to the south off Ghost Hollow Road, there's a big one going in back there.
Absolutely.
And it's not that far away.
And then that is not out of our jurisdiction. One of the first things, we receive a lot of calls about solar just in the test. Hey, if we looked at this property, is this in your jurisdiction or not? Sometimes as soon as we say it's in our jurisdiction, less questions happen because that means they have to actually go through a public hearing. They have to go through that whole process.
They say, can we go out another half mile or so? Yeah,
and that's where they look.
Because the county still has those public hearings. I attended the last one that Pivot Energy had, and nobody spoke up because I think people kind of understand its fait accompli now is the fact that if it's out in the county, it's pretty much going if the landowner's willing to sell. I mean, the only people who were there were actually the landowners making sure everything was going to go through so they could get their check.
You just have to make sure, if you're good with the state, there's little the county can do. That's why the city does. Now, will that change? Could the state come in and take that authority away from the cities if you start seeing a number of them rejected for no reason? At least if something is rejected from the city's level, it is, hey, the zoning wasn't in line. There's some reason. If you start to see them where they say, we just don't want this here, the cities may become in the same boat as the county.
Well, and people also suggest that, well, why aren't we just putting these things on rooftops and stuff? Well, that's great, but solar farms are massive with dozens of acres involved, not just like going on, hey, going on top of the roof of the WCU building sounds great, but they need more space.
And that's our distinction. What we look at is generally if you're seeing them on rooftops, if you're seeing them in parking lots, you're just fueling that one location.
Right.
If you are selling it back into the grid, that's where our rules. If somebody come up, you could have a project which is several acres of them, but if they're just fueling one of our industries, that would not require one of our special permits. That would be simply working with our inspection department. But as soon as you are putting it back out into the grid, that's where you have to go through our code.
What do the panels at the airport? Where are they? Are they just for the airport, or are they on the grid? Sure?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
I would have to look into that one. Not sure on that.
Because there's not that many. It's just
no,
a few,
and I would assume it could be where it is, and sometimes it's a case where it's powering that location, and then if there's any excess, it could go on. What we're targeting are basically the farms with our ordinance.
Yeah. One other thing to quickly discuss is gaming. Always a hot topic, but we had the council did approve a new gaming parlor at the northeast corner of 24th and Chestnut. And why did that need a special dispensation or whatever?
The key reason is that is a commercial corridor, but you get into the lingo of zoning and such, that is considered C1B. That is our retail commercial. In a C1B zoning district, alcohol sales are not allowed. You've got to be able to have alcohol sales to have a gaming parlor.
Right.
So because of that, instead of changing the zoning, they get a special permit for plan development. That gives them access to the alcohol license, the liquor license that they need to be able to operate that permit. Again, if they were just a bit farther north, that is into a different zoning classification where alcohol sales are allowed. But because they're in the retail, that is what required it.
Did the proximity to Reservoir Park have anything to do with that?
No, it is simply, that is a factor though, because as part of our code, if you're going to allow alcohol sales into an area that is not a commercially, a C2 general commercial district, the city council has to look at if there's nearby residential, if there's nearby parks, if there's nearby schools, government buildings. So in this case, the Social Security office played a factor, the park district played a factor. The council had to waive that restriction within 500 feet to be able to allow them to have that there. They'd actually done that in the past for that property.
Right.
About 3 years ago, someone had applied for a permit and never acted on it. So that permit went invalid, and so that's why this new permit was needed.
And again, it seems like that we don't get a whole lot of new gaming parlors anymore. And I mean, everybody was talking about back when they were opening up fast and furious. Now it seems like it's kind of a bit of a trickle. I mean, do you think we've kind of reached that saturation point in some people's minds?
One of the things that the Plan Commission has discussed a lot is you've had some that have said, why don't we regulate those more? And the Plan Commission has taken the approach of the market will regulate them. And as we see fewer and fewer requests, now they can still go, if they decide to go in an area that is commercially zoned, especially along Broadway, along certain corridors, they don't need any permission from the Plan Commission or the City Council, anything like that. As long as they have the right zoning, they can go right in. But as far as requests to the Plan Commission, we had stretches where we had a number of them coming up, and it had been a little while for it. I think as the commission members had said, the market will start to dictate that.
And what's the max number of machines a parlor can have now?
I believe
6?
it is 6,
okay.
And I believe the council approved an ordinance that basically keeps up with what the state says. So if the state lowers it or increases it, we don't have to go in. We have some of those sometimes that we have to go in and fix our code every time the state changes something. I believe that new ordinance allows for you to just say whatever the state's is, that's what ours is. Makes it a lot easier for legality.
Yeah,
and such.
just have the guidelines where they're the same, and it would seem to work.
The easier it is to understand our code, the better.
All right, Jason, thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
That's all the time we have now for Minutes with the Mayor, brought to you by Mercantile Bank. I'm Bob Gough. We'll see you next week.